West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
This show's ending by 11 o'clock. I ain't got time. So anyone who's trying to talk long today, allow it. This first time Caribbean Cricket Podcast live call-in show has come back in 3 weeks. I can't even remember why I haven't done it the last few weeks. Obviously, I was away. I was in Jamaica, then I was in Florida, then I came back. And truth be told, I came back and forgot that I even did a Monday live show. It was only today. I was at the went to do some work somewhere at my hotspot, and I was like, oh yeah, don't I do a live call-in show? I only just remembered that that's something I actually do. So that's why we've come back today. Live call-in show. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Like, share, subscribe. I'm not putting out any link to anyone to call in till we've got 150 people. What the hell is that noise? Oh my god, it's the Discord. Judge, what the so I'm not putting anyone to come on the live until 150 people are in the live call-in show. Okay? Did you hear me? 150. So you're gonna have to like, you're gonna have to share, you're gonna have to subscribe, algorithm, all of that jazz. Okay, whilst we wait for all of that, let's do this. How do I do this? Let me do this. Whilst we wait for all of that, let me put up some nonsense in the meantime. I've got a few admin stuff to go through, but let's do some foolishness. Hold on, what the hell is? Yeah, let's do some foolishness in the meantime. So stop this video. What the jaja? Let me play this in the meantime whilst I get my bearings. Have you become a patron? Stop this video right now and go to the link www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. If you really want to help Caribbean Cricket Podcast go to the next level, that's how you can support. For as little as £2, 2 yen, 2 rupee, 2 Caribbean dollars, whatever your currency is, go and become a patron on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Wait, there's also Buy Me a Coffee. I'd like an oat vanilla latte. Santoki doesn't drink coffee, but I do. You can also use the Buy Me a Coffee link. That's on the descriptor below. You could also click that. YouTube thanks, YouTube chat features, all of that. Just support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And now back to your regular programming. Here I am in the corner as well, you know. Jaja. Oh boy. You can tell I haven't done this live call-in show for time, you know. I've forgotten how I even do this show. But so what I did do, for those people who are patrons, I did give them the option. So depending on which tier of the patron scheme you are, it allows you to do different things. So some people who are on like the 3rd tier, they get the link to come on live first. So I sent it to them, but none of them want to come on the show. But they get the link, or no, I think they're busy, so they can't come on the show anyways. But they get the link first. And then for the rest of you on Patreon, I gave you the option, if you can't make the live show, to send your questions in first before people come and corrupt the live call-in. So let me deal with those questions first things first, the ones that were sent in. So, apology, I think this is from Sandeep. Sandeep says, which writer or book, apart from CLR James, do you think most vividly captures the spirit and story of West Indies cricket? I wouldn't say book per se. I mean, well, we could call it a book. I think you'd probably have to read the books by Hilary Beckles in terms of from a West Indian historian perspective. We've had a couple of authors on. If you go back through the archives of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast show, we've had a couple of authors on in recent years. Venetia came on she's done a book on Frank Worrell. David Woodhouse came on, and he's done a book on the 57-58 tour, England tour of the West Indies. So there's a lot of books which are out there where we've had the authors on to talk about those particular books, which I think are worth a read. I'm planning to write a book, actually, funny enough. I don't know when I'll get round to it. If God spares my life, I'll write it at some point, because I do think that, in fact, let me not say any more, because if I tell you what I want to write the book on, somebody else will teeth the idea. But I do think that where West Indies cricket is at now, nobody has written something that truly captures why we are where we are. We've got a lot of talking heads. We've got a lot of people. We've got a lot of people that talk fuckery, but we don't really have anybody that's written it down without constantly making reference to the 60s, 70s, 80s. My whole thing is we have to bun that chat now. We have to bun the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s chat. None of that is relevant to 2025. Well, I mean, of course, you have to learn from your past, but right now, to understand 2025, you can't put 2025 in the context of the 60s, 70s, 80s. Like, you can if you want, but I don't think that's the story to tell. But anyways, that's a story for another day. Next question. These are all from patrons, people. So if you're somebody who would like to get your comment read out first, become a patron, innit? This is from, who sent this one again? Was it Shakes? I can't remember who sent this. Says, what are the minimum expectations from the Nepal series? So after CPL finishes, we go straight to Dubai, or is it Sharjah? I think we're playing those games to play Nepal in 3 T20s. So I think the team that's going to go to play Nepal will be a weakened. Is there any such thing as a weakened West Indies side? Our first choice 11 is weak. So I don't know if there's any such thing as a weakened West Indies side. But I think we'll send a weaker West Indian side to play Nepal. And I think, before anyone gets on to me about that, I think that's what we should be doing. Not because we're significantly better than Nepal, but because how else are we going to test our bench strength before the World Cup? So by the time CPL is finished, Sammy and Avanesh, and even though they're all with St. Lucia, but Sammy, Avanesh, the scouts around the region, Reefer and all of that lot, Jamal, all of that lot are supposed to be looking at CPL and saying to themselves, who did we see in CPL 2025 that could force their way into the West Indies World Cup squad, or can help us improve our bench strength? So I expect us to be testing out some people in Nepal. That's not the same as picking a West Indies A side. That's not what I mean. But I expect us to be testing out a few names that we wouldn't previously have seen. And by that, I mean a leg spinner, for example. I don't know who that person might be, but I expect them to do that. In terms of minimum expectations, if that's what they do, and they use the Nepal series to test out a few guys, then I expect us to lose at least one game. So the minimum expectation is a 2-1 win. If we pick what is supposed to be the best 11 or 15 or whatever in the Caribbean in terms of T20 cricket, then the expectation should be 3-0. But if we are testing out some bench strength, then I would say 2-1. And then, of course, if we do lose one, the Caribbean is going to cuss Darren Sammy out. So that's how I see it. Who sent this? I can't. Yeah, I think this is all Shakes. Are there any KPIs that regional boards are expected to adhere to and achieve when it comes to the development of players for West Indies teams? If you mean KPIs in terms of this is what you have to achieve in order to get your stipend, no, there are no KPIs. The boards are getting their stipend regardless. Now, with that stipend that they get, there is an expectation that because the money that a board gets, so let's take Trinidad, which allegedly is a teething board, right? Let's say they get their stipend now, Trinidad, right? That money is supposed to be used to ensure that there is a professionalization of all of the players who have domestic contracts in Trinidad. So if you've got a domestic-based franchise contract, not franchise in terms of T20, franchise as in you are paid as a professional cricketer all year round. So Josh Da Silva will have a domestic-based franchise contract. He is what am I trying to say here? He is employed by TTCB in essence within the Trinidad franchise, and he is paid through Cricket West Indies. Now, what that therefore means is TTCB is then supposed to take responsibility to ensure that those cricketers who are under contract, what am I trying to say here, are then professional. But then as Carlos Brathwaite, sorry, DJ Natural, I'll come to you in a minute. I can see you coming. As Carlos Brathwaite said on the interview we did with him a few days ago, what does professional mean in the Caribbean? Does professional mean we have Super 50 coming up, so I'm going to start being professional for the 2 months before Super 50, but as soon as Super 50 is done, I'm going to start eating KFC again? Is that what professional means in the Caribbean? Because professional elsewhere means you are professional all year round. You have a program that you follow all year round, right? And I'm not saying the players don't have this. I just think it's haphazard. I think if you went to the Windward Islands and asked to see what is your professional development plan as a Windward Islands Cricket Board for the players who are under a professional development contract at the domestic level, what's the plan for their professional development all year round? I think that plan would be completely different to what Guyana are doing, to what Trinidad are doing, to what Barbados is doing. And what I suspect is happening is enough men are eating KFC when they're in off-season. Because when they're in off-season, what are they doing? So when you talk about KPIs, I'd love to. And this is why I always say to people, stop artsing Kishore Shallow and Miles Bascom to come on shows. Start artsing the heads of cricket boards to come on and explain how is cricket professional in their country? What have they done? These are the questions we need to be asking. Man are getting paid to be professional, but they're only professional for about 5 months of the 12 in the year. Does that even make sense? But they're being paid a yearly contract. Does that even make sense? So a man is getting paid to eat KFC for 6 months. Does that even make sense? You saw the article, I think it was in the Antigua Observer the other day, where Hayden Walsh, who's a professionally paid domestic cricketer, was in the Antigua Observer saying, boy, he turned up at Sir Viv and they said that he can't come and train. There's no space for him to train in the gym. There's no space for him to come and practice on the square. There's no nets for him to practice at. And he's a professional cricketer. So what's he supposed to do? Ah, boy. See, when we start talking about these things, 93 people in the live at the moment. No, live calling ain't happening until we hit 150 minimum. Come on, man. Right, DJ Natural says, I've been on Patreon about a year and can't access Discord. Is it because I'm black or because I'm a Rasta? I'm going to have to assume, are you sure you're on Patreon? There's different levels to Patreon, you know. To be on the Discord, you actually have to, enter level 1. Level 1 is not the free level. You see, and I don't know if you're above the free level, DJ Natural, you need to let me know, you know, because here's the thing. So DJ says I got the link, but the link didn't work. So why didn't you email me then? So wait, man's cussing me, but didn't ask me to send the link again. Boy. Right, DJ, when I'm off this, I'll send you a link again. I would send it to you on YouTube, but then Bear Man can then just get into the Discord. And actually, let me speak on the Discord for a minute. So the Discord used to have, when I shut down the last Caribbean Cricket Podcast Discord, it had about 270 people in it, right? And somebody messaged me and said, privately, and said, why does Caribbean Cricket Podcast give everything away free? And I had a moment of enlightenment when that person said it, because I was like, yeah, hold on a minute. Caribbean Cricket Podcast is out here doing the most. Podcasts, writing stuff, doing live call-in shows, going to matches and doing live updates, doing this, doing that, updating all the social, like, and everyone was just like expecting me to give up all my time and to do it for nothing. Come on, man. This is 2025 out here. So I shut it down. I shut the Patron down and said, nah. Every other podcast that I know of, Discord is something that you actually have to pay for. So I basically just said, right, the lowest tier of Patron, as long as you contribute to the lowest tier of Patron, which is basically $2 a month, then you get the access to the Discord. I think that's fair enough. I think that's fair enough. But anyways, so we've gone from having 270 people in the Discord to I think there's about 55 now. So yeah, but I prefer that because that's a dedicated community there. Anyways, let's move to the next question. Assuming we have a fit and firing Deandra Dottin in our team, how far can we realistically go in the T20 World Cup? Right, yeah, so Deandra is currently laying down the 100, as well as Hayley. If Deandra is fit and plays the West Indies, forget ODI World Cup, let's just talk T20 or ODI cricket. If Deandra is fit, and by fit, I mean fit enough to be an all-rounder, so that's bat and bowl. If she's fit enough to bat and to bowl, then West Indies can make the semi-final of a T20 World Cup. And if they make a semi-final, then they can make a final. That's not even me exaggerating. I think because of how good Hayley is and how good Deandra is and the nature of T20 cricket, all you need is two players to do a madness, and Hayley and Deandra can do absolute madnesses. All you need is the two of them to fire at the right time, and we basically beat anybody, probably bar Australia. But if those two fire at the right time, there is no women's team in world cricket that can stop them. So I think it is feasible that if they'd need a bit of luck, obviously, they'd still have to work on their permutations in and around Deandra, what you do with people like Shemaine Campbell, is Stefani Taylor fit, so on and so forth. There's still loads of different things that have to work out around that. What they do with the young guns like Claxton and Glasgow and so on and so forth. There's lots of different questions. But if Deandra and Hayley fire in any one West Indies women's match, and in Deandra's case, that means in the field and with the ball, I think they beat every single team bar Australia. So yeah, that's how I see it. Kester McQueen says, I got kicked out of the last Discord and I'm a patron too. When you say kicked out, do you mean I shut the Discord down and therefore you are no longer in it? If you are on Patron and you're a paying Patron member, please message me privately on Patron and I will sort it out. If you're no longer in the Discord, just message me through the Patron app and I will sort that out. Do it now, otherwise you'll forget. Right. What's the next question? Sorry, people, I am actually going to come to the call-in part soon. We're at 121 people. As soon as we get to 150, I'll put the link in. Still going through the questions. I think this one is from Aqua. If countries create their own academies to feed into the national structure as a bottom-up strategy instead of a top-down one, will national governments fund it and Cricket West Indies? So this is the kind of eternal dilemma, I think, in West Indies cricket, because. So let's use Guyana, okay? Let's use Guyana. Guyana has oil money, right? With that oil money, rather than Guyana do Global Super League, which I nearly said something reckless there. I nearly said something mad reckless. Actually, no, I'm going to say it. Who won Vex, take Vex. When I see things like Global Super League, it makes, like, put it this way, look, right? If a Saudi man did Global Super League or a Qatari man did Global Super League, we'd say it's sports washing, right? Rather than Guyana spend their money on things like Global Super League, why don't they just create academies? Create one in Georgetown, create one in Berbice, create one in Demerara, and all them play Equisibo, create one in all. They've got the money to do it. They're awash with oil money. They've got no reason to not do it, right? Create an academy in all of them structures. That helps Guyanese cricket, right? They would then have to see it also as serving the wider goal of helping West Indies cricket. Same for Mia Motley, because when I hear all these people, see, I'm not as tied to national figureheads as some of the dunces. So, you know how like someone's like, I'm a proud Jamaican, you therefore can't criticize my prime minister. I'm a proud Guyanese, you can't criticize my prime minister. I'm a proud Bayesian, you can't criticize Mia. Hear me, I don't care. I don't care who your PM be. All I care about is the cricket, right? So when I see all these different heads of countries start talking about we need to rally around the West Indies and West Indies is important, I don't care for oratory. All I care about is put your BC money where your mouth is, right? And if you really do care about West Indies cricket, start funding something then. Don't tell me and don't make big speeches about how much you care about West Indies cricket. What is your government doing about it? Where's the academies? And yes, you can say Cricket West Indies is a private entity, but we're all going to have to individually do stuff within our countries for the wider goal. So that's the answer to the question. It's not up to Cricket West Indies to it's not up to Cricket West Indies to force a government to build a cricket academy. The government has to do it. Or the government doesn't have to do it, but then they should be blatant and just say, we don't actually care. We don't actually care. Or the government can go to corporate, like Brogod can go to corporate Jamaica and say, can we build a cricket academy? Like, it doesn't have to be government money. You could just go to the corporate people in a country and come up with a reason and justification for why we need a cricket academy in the country. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyways, most government heads just want to teeth money anyway. So what am I even talking about? Pure teething is all that goes on. Question everything. Is the development of batters? We're on 134 people in the live. Link for the live chat goes. This show finishes at 11 o'clock, you know. Tell a friend, like, share, subscribe, all of that. Next question. Is the development of batters due to a wealth gap? It's more expensive to develop longer form batters due to the facilities required than bowlers who require less equipment to hone their skills, in theory. So I actually don't buy this. I don't buy this explanation or this reasoning. If it's easier or cheaper to develop bowlers, why is it in between 2000 and let's say 2007-8 to 2014-15, right? We had somewhere within that period of time, we had Brian Lara, obviously he retires in that early period, but we had Brian Lara, Chris Gale, Shivnarayan Chandapal, and Ramnaresh Sarwan. And even in that era, the players who were considered shit were like Brendan Nash, who averaged 34, 33. Wavell Hines averaged 33. Kirk Edwards averaged 32. Those players were considered rubbish because they only averaged 33, 32, 34. We would be drop kicking everybody and their granny for anyone who could average 34 now, right? Now, in that period of time when we had Gale, Chandapal, Sarwan, and 3 or 4 men who averaged in the low 30s, we had no bowlers. So I don't buy this. I don't buy this idea that it's down to a wealth gap. Why then did we have no bowlers for the best part of, what, nearly 10 years? You lot don't know about this. You lot who are under 30, you don't know about when our bowling attack was Darren Powell and them, man. You don't know about those days. I saw test matches where our bowling attack was like man like Cameron Cuffey, man like Adam Sanford, man like Darren Powell, man like who else was Nixon McLean. You lot don't know about these days. You man don't. Do you man know about them days? There was a time in West Indies cricket between about 2005, 2015. We couldn't take 10 wickets, much less 20. 20 wickets. Come on, man. People would be rocking up to play West Indies and just making 750. And we're taking like 12 wickets in the test match. You lot don't know about these days. So this is why when I hear things like, "Oh, it's easier to create bowlers," I'm like, no, I don't buy it. I don't buy it, because there was a time when we had no bowlers. It was only when Jerome Taylor and Kimar Roach turned up around what? Jerome turned up really around 2008, 2009, but when Kimar came around, when did Kimar come back? 2012-ish? It's like you lot, this is what I'm saying. Some of you are young out here. So some of you are young and you think that what you're seeing now is what the bowling always was. When Courtney Walsh and Curtly Ambrose retired in 2000, and I think when did Curtly went in about 2000, Courtney went in 2001. Between 2001 and about 2010, we had no bowlers. Literally no bowlers. And then, who's put this here? Charlie's right. Then we started to get a few. Taylor, Roach. I'm not even counting Fidel Edwards. I don't even count Fidel. Go look back at Fidel's test career. Fidel averaged like 30. I think his wickets came at like 37. So Fidel doesn't even count for me. I remember this horrendous tour of Australia that we went on. Who remembers this one? Because some of you lot are young. You don't even know about these times. It was when Carlos Brathwaite was playing for us in Test cricket. So it must have been 2015, 10 years ago. Who remembers that tour 10 years ago in Australia, where Australia, every Test match, they made like 550 for two. Does anyone remember that tour? That's an exaggeration, but it was literally like that. They'd bat once, make about 550 for four, and we were taking no wickets. Does anyone get in the comments if you remember that Test series? Who remembers that Test series? It was horrendous. Horrendous. Some of you are young out here. You don't know about them. You don't know about the suffering some of us have been through. Some of us have been through some of us have been through the real sufferation when it's come to bowling, you know. So I don't think I buy this idea about it's easier to create bowlers, because we created none for about a 10-year period. And there's some bowlers I've missed out in that list, you know. I'm wondering, Marlon Black. Who remembers Marlon Black? Bearman played. Oh, Bearman played for West Indies in that time, you know. Oh, Bearman were getting Test matches in that time. Boy. Marlon Black, cuz. Oh my God. Hey, if you were a fast bowler at that time in West Indies cricket, you were getting a Test call up, you know. Jermaine Lawson got a call up and he was just pelting. Lawson was like pelting, then he'd get dropped, then he'd come back and just pelt some more. It was a dark time, you know. We were getting taken there in those times. We were really getting taken there. These are all around the same times when Rajendra Chandrika. No, he was no. When did Chandrika get his Test debut? 2015. Dwight Washington. Oh my God. I forgot about him as well, you know. Who was the man who came and played one Test match? Was it in Jamaica? His surname was Bess. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? What was his first? Brandon Bess or something? Who's old enough to remember him? Who am I talking about? Like he bowled in a net and they just called him up or something. And man was useless. Anyone remember him? Something Bess. Hey, these times were a dark time, you know. We were getting taken there. Oh my God. God. Hey, I need to do an episode where I reminisce about some of the dark times, you know. Because some of you lot really don't know what some of us were going through in that era. God, Bess, you know. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, dark times, cuz dark times. Now, but Rion King was right relative to. So, in fairness, right. So Rion King, he was better than what Alzari Joseph is now. And so was Mervyn Dillon. Mervyn Dillon was better than what Alzari Joseph is now. Let me pause and see what people think about that. Those of you who are old enough heads, what do you reckon that's scandalous for me to say that? I think Mervyn Dillon and Rion King were judged badly because they were the first two to kind of come after Courtney and Kirtley. And because Courtney and Kirtley were world class, we just called Mervyn Dillon and Rion King rubbish, but they were actually all right. Like Mervyn Dillon and Rion King had a better test match career than Alzari, and that's not to criticize Alzari Joseph, but if you actually go back and look at their numbers, they're no different to what Alzari Joseph is now. So they only looked terrible in the context of who they came after. Rion King was actually good. I don't care what anyone says. Rion King was good. Even Franklin Rose. Franklin Rose was. Let me go. Someone check Franklin Rose's numbers because Franklin Rose was actually all right. He was just a bit of a madhead. That was more the issue with Franklin Rose. He was a real bad man. Everyone knows about what happened on that plane. Where anyway, does everyone know the plane story? Allegedly, he went to chop a man on a plane, and this is what I've always been told. Allegedly, he went to chop a man on the plane, and I think it was Jimmy Adams who got in between them, and Jimmy got his thumb chopped as a result. That's the story that I was always told. But yeah, Franklin Rose was a hothead, but he was actually an all right bowler. See there, I knew it. I knew I wasn't making it up. Franklin Rose averaged 30.89 with the ball. Come on, man. There's man in our team right now who don't average that. So we can't just be looking back at people like Franklin Rose and Merv Dillon and Rion King and saying that they weren't good. They just came after Courtney and Kirtley, so no one looked good in relation to those three. So yeah, anyway, we need to reminisce about them times. You know, we need to reminisce about them times. Man are saying that. Listen, the thing is, I'm just putting the. Oh my god! I'm just putting the comment up and I'm leaving it. I'm just leaving it there. I'm not saying it out loud because it's not me who said it. You know. Right. Okay. Let's get the calling part. Let's get the calling part going. Right, so the time is 11:15. We are finishing this. Where's my timer? We're finishing this at 11:15. So 30 minutes for the call-in segment, and then the show is done. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, people. Like, share, and subscribe, etc., etc. And then we're wrapping this up at 11:15. So there's another hour of the show to go. Whilst we wait for that, I'm just going to get a drink of water because it's hot in here. Can get a drink of water, so I'll just quickly play an ad whilst I get a drink of water. People, bear with me. Stop this video right now and go to the link www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. If you really want to help Caribbean Cricket Podcast go to the next level, that's how you can support. For as little as £2, 2 yen, 2 rupee, 2 Caribbean dollars, whatever your currency is, go and become a patron on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Wait, there's also Buy Me a Coffee. I'd like an oat vanilla latte. Santoki doesn't drink coffee, but I do. You can also use the Buy Me a Coffee link. That's on the descriptor below. You can also click that. YouTube thanks, YouTube chat features, all of that. Just support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And now back to your regular programming. Let me just stay in the corner like this. I'm such an uncle, I can't even bother to put myself back full screen because I'm trying to peel my orange. Allow me, just let me peel my orange and then I'll soon fix this back in a minute. I just have to peel this little orange over here, you know. What, you thought I was professional? No. I'm professional. I'm back. I went and got a glass of water and an orange. I'm back. Right. Who's there? Right, we got 2 people in the chat ready to come on. 5 minutes, people. Make a point, etc. Right, let's get back to regular programming. Right, Fireball's up first. When Fireball's talking, I'm just going to let him talk so I can finish eating my orange. The middle of this orange looks like the middle of Aki. It looks poisonous, cuz. 1 second, Fireball. Just peeling out the middle of this orange in case there's poison in it. Right, Fireball, let's go. Yes.
Nice. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mash. I'm just here gonna probably just talk about the 30 minutes of CPL I've watched for the beginning of it. I see old man Monroe score 120. This man is a semi-retired coach, you know.
Is he a coach?
He was a coach last year, Monroe.
Coach for who?
TKR. I think he was a coach. I think he was a batting coach. I think he was in coaching staff.
Oh snap! I didn't even know. You know, I
Correct
didn't. Do you know what? Did you watch? I haven't even watched the highlights of that game. No, tell a lie. I didn't watch the Trinidad innings. I watched the St. Kitts innings. So I haven't even really seen what he even did. But to me, it's embarrassing that a 30-year-old overseas player is making like. I don't know. It depends. Actually, let me ask you this question: what if Imran Tahir is still bowling down everyone at 46? Is 38 even old?
I mean, no. Imran Tahir, vice. I'm sorry, I pronounced his name correctly. And Fab Duplessis played the World Cup final 07 when I now start to watch cricket. In 07 World Cup in Barbados, all three of them must win in South Africa in the final. They're still playing for CPL. Absolutely insane.
What do you think TKR are playing at?
What do you mean?
In terms of, so I did the video earlier today, and when I was looking at the squad, even I was shocked at how many players were over 30. In fact, the only players who weren't over 30 were the 3 obligatory breakout league players that they had to pick, which was Josh, McKenny Clark, and Nathan Edward. Everybody else and Casey Carty, sorry. Everybody else in their team is literally like 33 or older. What are TKR playing at?
Like I said in the comment section before, it's like WCW 2000. Let's bring all the guys on the big contracts. I don't know who's Vince Russo in that squad. I guess Vince Russo will be Terrence Hines.
But what? Let's say TKR win this year. When do you think TKR will finally start to think long term about what they do next?
I don't think they will really. I think all these men gonna retire. TKR gonna have a nasty shock. We're gonna have a bunch of youth men and Puran leading them can't do anything. And
it's
they'll
bizarre.
have to, yeah.
It's bizarre because Pollard turns 39. Pollard turns 39 next year. Russell turns okay, let me rephrase this question. Do you see all of these guys playing into their 40s?
Russell and Pollard, no.
Narayan?
Narayan's a spinner. He probably could play in his 40s if he wanted to.
Boy, CPL's gonna have a big problem, you know. They're gonna because it's not obvious. Because TKR are TKR, they'll probably just go for the next best domestic-based players in the region, whether that be someone like Shafane Rutherford or whatever, right? But then if they take somebody like that, what does that do to the other teams? Like, there's literally like no obvious domestic talent to come up and come through that are considered. Everyone who now comes through after Pollard and that lot go, everyone who now comes through will all be players that we look at and go, they're still trying to learn T20 cricket. Pretty
much, yeah. It will just be Josh Silva and Gooley and Django and them, and they're not going to be replacements to the good generation. It's going to be a rough transition, to say the least.
When's your first TKR game that you're going to go to this season?
None. I have work. I'm going back to school.
I like how you're lying, you know.
I don't know if I think tickets done sold already. So if I'm going somewhere, I have someone to give me a free ticket. Tickets done sold out.
You reckon already? For
the Guyana game, most likely. Like the midweek games, I might get a ticket. I might get expensive, like I won't say expensive, but relatively expensive compared to cheaper tickets, like a Trini Posse ticket to go to a St. Lucia game. But I'm not going to the marquee games that we sold out.
Okay, I hear you. Listen, before I go to the next caller, any other points?
Well, none really. I said what I have to say.
Listen, anybody who wants to cuss, Fireball will be back in the comments. Please direct your cusses to him. He goes by the name of Fireball Trinity. Begin the cuss out when I remove him from the show.
Oh yeah, I have one more thing to say. I know some Finkitians was upset that I was insulting how small the ground is. My point still stands. Like some of those balls would have been out in any other cricket stadium in the Caribbean. Lord, I do agree with that. I do think it's ridiculous that we all know that Warner Park is a tiny ground where 200 plus scores are easy to. I've never really seen what the point of that was. That doesn't mean there should be no cricket in St. Kitts. That's not my point. But I just don't. Either you have to doctor the pitch to make it a bit more difficult, but I don't see what we learn from games where it's like 230 plays 220. I don't and there's just pure sixes being hit because you can. All you have to do is just literally flick your bat and it's a six in Warner Park. And I'm not sure that helps the quality of the cricket, but hey. Anyways, Fireball, gonna go to the next caller. All right, take care.
Cool. In a bit. Before I come to Panda, who is next, just looking through some of the comments that I might have missed. Karis, what's going on? Karis says CPL has become a retirement home for years now. The best players are foreign players. Tahir's going to play till he's collecting pension from the Guyanese government. Raku says that in Guyana, they're reselling tickets at ridiculous prices. Oh, actually, so I was on cricket.com earlier on. Some big platform in India. So I was on their show earlier on, and I was making they were asking me lots of questions about CPL, and I forgot to make the point to them or I think I made the point but didn't make it in full, so I'll make it on this show. And Panda's on next, so she possibly will be able to answer this from a Trini perspective. Is it that Trinidad and Guyana have the most vociferous support in CPL because they're the two teams that have a core that is linked to their country? So Guyana, when you look at the Guyanese team, like 7 or 8 or 9 of the team are Guyanese. When you look at the Trini team, 7, 8 or 9 of the Trini team are Trinis. Is that why there's such a huge level of support for Trinidad and Guyana? Or is cricket just more popular in Trinidad and Guyana? Or is CPL fundamentally flawed because everybody else has to, like St. Kitts has just Machel Louis and Jeremiah Louis, right? They're always going to be an assortment of borrowing players from different nations, right? Jamaica aren't even in the tournament, so all the Jamaican players just have to go all over the place, right? Barbados could do it, but for some reason, this is what I find interesting. Barbados could do exactly what Trinidad and Guyana do, but don't. Shea Holt's with Guyana. Holder's now gone to St. Kitts. Roston chases with St. Lucia. Like the Bajans just get loaned out all over the place, right? Who've I left out? St. Lucia, they only have 2 men that they can pick: Darren Sammy and Johnson Charles. One's swiping at the top of the order, the other one's the coach, right? Obviously, there's other St. Lucians. So the point is CPL fundamentally flawed and therefore skewed towards Trinidad and Guyana? Because, like, so what the Indian guys on that show were saying to me is, they were like, why doesn't CPL introduce a super auction and say to every team that everyone gets wiped off your team now, and you just have to go into an auction to stop Trinidad and Guyana hoarding all of their national players every year? And I said to them that I agree with that idea, but the problem is, all that would happen is, like, under the table deals would happen. Like, I don't think it would be a true auction, right? Like, you'd find a way to make sure that Akil Hussein was still with Trinidad, Puran was still with Trinidad. And this is the litmus test for me. If Trinidad didn't have, we can use Guyana, but I'm going to use Trinidad because Panda's up next. If Trinidad didn't have 9 Trinis in their team, would people still go and support TKR? That's the litmus test for me. And that's why I keep making that point about, so what happens when Pollard goes and when Narayan goes and so on and so forth? Would Trini still be coming out to support the team if there was only 1 or 2? Like, say it was like St. Kitts and there was only 1 or 2 Trini men in a Trini team. Would they still be jumping up and down supporting Trinidad? But then the argument, I guess, against that is TKR now this is where brand is so important. TKR is now such a successful brand that maybe it's gone past all of that. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I don't know. Jack 8967 says people would still go. So that answers that question. But Jack, I'm not saying whether people would go. Of course they'd go. Cricket's cricket. I'm saying, would the support be as vociferous if there wasn't a national element to it? I don't know. I mean, St. Kitts did, when they won in 2021. There were no petitions in that team then. They're probably 1 man, but so I don't know. Do people really care? This is why I think CPL should be changed to cities rather than countries. So, like, we should have, like, Port of Spain. I was trying to come up with something funny. I can't come up with something right now. But should the teams go to Port of Spain, Georgetown, Kingston, Bridgetown? Would that, if they were changed to cities, do you think it would take away the national element of it all? And people would then therefore treat it more like franchises rather than countries? All important questions. Anyways, let's go to Panda. Yes, Panda, how you doing?
Hello. Just double checking. You can hear me, right? Great, because I've been having audio issues all day. Just as a side by, one thing people tend to forget about the evolution of franchise cricket within the Caribbean is that the quote-unquote GOAT generation of T20 players in the Caribbean was mostly Trinidadian. It was Pollard, Badri, Bravo, Lendl Simmons. And so from a Trinidadian perspective, we go from this early 2000s era of dominating the Caribbean in small tournaments, of then going into Champions League, of then going into CPL, winning in 2015, winning with a batting core that was international players. Our only, like, primary local players were Bravo at 5 and 6, and then non-Trinidadian bowlers who were not good. So from a Trinidadian perspective, especially, not even from a Guyanese perspective, I think it's just a residual love of, or like residual pride from that early 2000s into mid 2010s era that we see the rise of Trinidadian players, and now we're seeing the tail end of it. So to come back to the question of, like, would people come out to really support a Trinidadian team that had less Trinidadians on it? It depends on how well you can flip the marketing for it, in my opinion. So you would have to pick a new direction of marketing, whether that be going more into party cricket and fetting, which I think Guyana has kind of done over the past couple of years, and less on come support your local guys.
Right. Okay. I hear that, actually. I do hear that. So treating the cricket as an event in and of itself rather than any specific focus on the team. Okay.
Which other franchises in the region have had to do for some time now. I think Barbados has had to do that for a couple of years because their Barbadian player base has been dwindling in CPL.
Yeah.
Also, just want to touch on something. You mentioned Hilary Beckles at the top of this call-in. Obviously, I have some books. Another recommendation, if we're trying to get into non-CLR James cricket books, is Michael Anthony's.
Hold that one up, because people are going to want the names of it. Michael Anthony, what's the Lamplighter?
The Lamplighter.
Okay.
It is a fiction book, but it talks about accounts and experiences of the Trinidadian people during the 1980s, which was during the 1980s to 1990s, which 3 major things happened in Trinidad at that point. The first West Indies game, the fire of Port of Spain, and then the move from gas lamps into electrical lamps within the capital. So as from a historical perspective, is actually really beautiful. And Michael Anthony is one of the most renowned Trinidadian historians. And obviously with that comes cricket discussions. But all of that aside, I have this. If you can't read what that is, it's a box of soap. I have a soap box for you tonight.
Oh, do you know what? I'm looking into the camera going, wait, what's this? Right, okay. Let's start this. Let's start the soapbox.
Right. So I think I hinted to you in DMs of something I've been doing. I've been going around interviewing people, trying to discuss or get more information on the infrastructural side of cricket in Trinidad from a developmental perspective and how it feeds into West Indies. Now, that paper is coming. I wrote like 3,000 words for it this morning, and it's going to be a big one. It's probably going to be a series. But I just want to touch on one point I actually discovered through these interviews. Because you actually have the responses and highlight stuff here. Within the past 15 years, youth club cricket in Trinidad has been abolished.
Okay.
Let me say that. Youth club cricket in Trinidad has been really removed and abolished. So as the current cricket structure stands, and this is coming from interviews I've done, it's if you think you're good enough, you can go for zonals. If you're good for zonals, you can go to nationals and then internationals. It's 3 steps.
But what do you mean by if you think you're good enough?
That is the exact words that someone used in the interview. So from what I've gathered, there are no specific criteria to try out for zonals. You may be part of a club. You may have received training as part of a club, but there is no requirement. You must have played X amount of matches. You must have been a club member for X amount of years. It's really, if you think you can do this, you can try out. It's a very soft criteria.
For the benefit of people who aren't in Trinidad, just explain what zonals mean.
So zonals are a collection of... The Trinidad is broken up into different zones. So there is North Zone, there is Northeast, South Zone, and etc. Within these zones, different clubs can play against each other, or the best players from within a zone can play against the best players from another zone. So you can have a Northeast 11 versus a South Trinidad 11.
Yeah.
And then from that system, you can try out for nationals. Your nationals are what determines who the team is for Super 50, for 4-day championships. And then obviously from nationals, it should be a team, but it's not in the actual workings of it. It's internationals as a step up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the entire system. So actually, I wrote down, well, I mean, there is an exception. So outside of that, there is school cricket. Now, certain players have gone through the school cricket system, but they have, in my opinion, that is not as good because you tend to skip levels. So Justin Jagasa went from playing the inter-school secondary school competition, won that as captain for Presentation College Iguanas, and then immediately went into regionals with the academy.
Yeah.
Man skipped nationals altogether. Man skipped zonals, everything.
Yeah.
And now he played for academy this year. I think his highest score is like 19. So that is one of the exceptions. But again, it's not a solid system.
But
so
then
I
that
actually
suggests, sorry, that if the school system is running here and you have a zonal system running here, nothing is aligned.
Correct.
But then the issue that I'm getting when you're explaining this is if it's a case of right, you play zone or you play for your club, then you might try out for zonal teams, so on and so forth. From the minute it's you might try out and so on and so forth, what that tells me is it's going to lend itself to a system of who does your dad know?
Friendship.
Or it's a friendship thing. It's a friendship thing.
I wrote this down.
It won't be a quality thing. It'll be a who do you know? And actually, it's also a financial thing. Do you have gears to be able to do X, Y, Z, and so on and so forth, and transport and X, Y, Z?
So some things that kept coming up in their interviews: racism. So really, this would be if you're an Indian pacer, you're kind of screwed. Islandism, which could help explain why we've seen such little Tobagonians coming out. On the offside, it could also be that that any Tobagonians that go through are, we don't know if they are going through on their own quality or if it's a Trinidadian trying to be a white knight, trying to pat themselves on the back for picking a Tobagonian. Because we also saw that in like the early 1920s and 30s when white people of West Indies were picking black people. It was really just a show to pat themselves on the back. A lot of these practices are just replicating that historical context. Friendshipism, nepotism, who sleeping with your mother-ism, is all these things that just determine, when there are no reliable criteria, we just create our own based on our own biases. And so I actually did a thought experiment on if you're a bowler going through the system, what would be the evolution of opponents that you would face? So if you're a bowler going through zonals, a person you might encounter would be Richard Dodds from Northeast Zone. In 2024, he scored 660 runs and was the highest run scorer for that zone. Okay, so he's one of the highest of that zone. After that, Vikash Mohan at national trials, who is a club cricket bully, every year scores a 200, scores a 300, but has never been able to reliably set himself into the regional level.
Yeah.
After that, Kevin Sinclair at regionals, which we laugh at that, but he was also one of the top 3 highest run scorers of 2024. Are
we talking about Kevin Sinclair as in Guyanese Kevin Sinclair?
Yeah, we're going through the levels of how you get to international level. So it'll be like Richard Dodds at zonals, Vikash Mohan at your national trials, Kevin Sinclair at your regionals.
Yeah.
And then you have Travis Head and Steve Smith at internationals. That is the evolution of opposition you would face as a bowler coming through the system. And from the minute you actually start deeping that you go from bowling to Vikash Mohan to Kevin Sinclair to Travis Head, Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, the question shouldn't be, why are we so bad? It's how have we still managed 1 or 2 performances every couple of games? It's no wonder why so many players come through with deficiencies. Because again, that lends itself with the soft criteria based in biases. Willing to forgive certain deficiencies just to let a man through, just because you like him. In fact,
go on,
is it possible for me to like DM you something?
What, right now?
Yeah, right now.
Am I supposed to read it out?
Parts of it. I don't want to give out the club name, but I just want to show you something that's actually kind of ridiculous.
Hold on. Can you DM it on, because I don't have my phone with me. It's in the next room. Can you DM it on Discord?
Yeah, no problem.
I can check it there. Oh, there we go.
So it's two
right.
images. That's one, and this next one is coming your way. 2 seconds.
Right. What's this?
Right. So this is one of the clubs I interviewed, and it's an advertisement for a windball tournament on July 29th, 2025.
Yeah.
10 overs, 6 overs of pelting, 4 overs of bowling. And if you look at the teams,
I see.
on the right side, you should see some interesting names there. I don't know if you want to read some of those out. There's 3 names.
So wait, so do you want... wait, am I supposed to be saying this stuff?
It's there. It's on their Facebook. It's advertising.
So in this 10 over windball tournament, has this tournament already taken place?
Yeah.
Right. So I see the names: Sunil Narayan, Terence Hines, and Nicholas Puram. So they played this 10 over windball tournament.
They played this 10 over windball tournament against club members, against people from the community, against people from nearby clubs as well. And
hold on, it actually says. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
when you said the pelting thing, I just assumed you were joking, but it actually says on the advert four. What's it say? 4 bowling, 6
pelting. More pelting than bowling in this 10 over tournament. 10 over game tournament.
Wait. Why is this advert saying 6 overs of? Why is it advertising 6 overs of pelting?
So we sit here and we wonder why Joshua James ends up in playing for Trinidad and pelting. And yet we look at our clubs in our own country and their tournaments are allowing pelting. And yeah, we can say we could chalk this up as just a windball tournament, but that is reductionist of some of the development pathways that some of our previous players have taken. Sunil Narayan famously learned his spin bowling in windball cricket. Nicholas Puram played a lot of windball cricket in the past. Windball cricket has been a fundamental aspect of Trinidadian cricket development, and in those tournaments we're allowing pelting. Sunil Narayan also allegedly, famously has a risque history with pelting. Our system is not designed, in Trinidad at least, is not designed to building any good player habits. You're pelting more than you're bowling. You're pelting for 2 overs more than you're bowling. And we expect Joshua James to come into the red ball tournament against other countries, against Barbados, against Guyana, and not pelt.
So let me look at it from the other point of view here, though, because there will be people who will be listening to this, particularly people who are possibly in Trinidad, and will say, well, hold on, actually there is a structure and people do get proper developmental opportunities, and that windball is recreational cricket, and there's no natural knock-on effect of that as to then what happens with a player's development, etc. So I'll just throw that in there, but then what I will say is, from the people that you have interviewed thus far and the evidence and data that you have collected, have any of them suggested what the answer is to fix it?
I'm still awaiting responses for some interviews. A lot of answer responses so far, a lot of solution recommendations have just been, or have revolved around better attention and restructuring from federal governments and more attention from TTCB, financial, structural attention. Because there are other issues preventing certain clubs from holding certain tournaments that I kind of don't want to get into while being recorded.
Right.
But there have been reports of issues within the system from certain governing agencies that are preventing certain tournaments from going on.
Yes, I will put 2 and 2 together and not comment, but yes, I can well imagine. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The joke in all of this for me is some would say that compared to other islands, nations, Trinidad has a better or one of the better domestic setups in the Caribbean in terms of structured tournaments for people to play. Like Trinidad was one of the few, if I'm not mistaken, to have like an under 23s competition. If I'm not mistaken, I'm prepared to be corrected if I've got that wrong. This isn't me trying to defend TTCB. I'm trying to just say some stuff. And what I'm saying is, if there are flaws in the Trinidad and Tobago system, what on earth is going on in the countries that don't even have a system as good as Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah, so looking at some of the articles that came out of Antigua within the past couple of years, can't exactly remember who, but cricket administrators in Antigua have been calling for the introduction of a zonal system in Antigua. So the Trinidadian system has 3 steps. It's zonal, nationals, international. Antigua doesn't have zonals. Other countries, and I can't even imagine what a country like Anguilla, who has a population of 15,000, might have. If we're talking about Trinidad with a population of 1.4 million, with a fan base who have demonstrated that they are willing to maintain this interest in cricket and willing to maintain this desire to play it both at a recreational and a professional level, I cannot imagine what's going on in Dominica. I cannot imagine what's going on in Anguilla. I can't imagine what's going on in St. Martin that Cardi came from recently.
This is why when people say to me, is the problem this or is the problem that, and so on and so forth, the only thing I think Cricket West Indies can do, and I've said this for so long now, is come up with a blueprint, which I'm sure they've already done, is come up with a blueprint to say to all of the different territories, this is how you need to structure your domestic system, right? And literally talk each of these territories through as to, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. But then this is always the problem. Cricket West Indies can do that. They can try and disseminate a top-down approach and guide countries as to, we think you should be doing this. Now, let's not even talk about the money. Let's just say it's a utopian world, and Cricket West Indies give the territories the money to then do this, right? And the different governments also contribute. So let's say Cricket West Indies gives 50%, the governments give 50%. I don't believe that the different territories would then implement the systems without somebody consistently having oversight and literally being in the respective nation, holding people to account. I think, and I know some people get upset with me saying this, but I think the money would disappear, certain things wouldn't happen, and we'd quickly go back to where we came from. But at the same time, I don't see how because if the system isn't uniform, what are we really doing? And this is what I said earlier on the show, if what happens in Trinidad, however flawed, happens in Trinidad, but it's completely different to what's happening in Jamaica, then how can we expect any kind of sustained quality to come through? All we're going to end up with is you'll have your one Jaden Seals, who is a generational talent who somehow comes through the system. You'll have a one Jewel Andrew who looks like he's a generational talent who will somehow come through the system. But those players will always be anomalies to the norm. So last question I'll say to you, because I'm just mindful of time, and maybe this is something that you may want to go away and add to the research that you're doing, because I think this is something that's also applicable to the different countries, right? And because I've heard Chris Deering speak about this as well. How important is schools cricket in revitalizing cricket in the region. And I think I'm kind of thinking off the top of my head here. I think what I'm getting at is, and again, I know some people in the chat, if there's anybody in the chat who are club cricketers or involved in the cricket, please put your comment in the chat as well, because I want to hear from as many people on this as possible. Is a better system for, given how the Caribbean works, is a better system for us to identify talent through school cricket rather than club cricket? Do you get where I'm trying to come from? Like, should we focus our attention and money on developing school systems and making the talent come through that pipeline rather than club systems? And anyone who's listening to this, I'm thinking off the top of my head, is that a way forward?
If it works, let's put it this way. If there was a greater integration of school cricket into the current system, because again, we don't have a youth club cricket, which means if you're 15, 14, you cannot be part of a club or play for a club. So if we greatly integrate school cricket into the developmental system, it adds roughly 7 years of cricketing experience to every person. Just think about when starting from like age 10, 11 to about Form 5, which is about 17. That's about 7 years of proper, quote unquote, proper cricketing development you can get throughout your teen years. So in that sense, it could strengthen the quality of players coming through, because that is one of the things West Indies struggles with. My concern is we're already struggling with the quality of coaches in whatever clubs, whatever system we have right now. Do we trust the coaches at the school system to guide that way through? And I don't know. The Caribbean struggles not just with coaching, but also in sports science and understanding how, especially a teen and a young body would be going through sports, how to reduce injury, how to recover from playing, how to recover from injury. We don't have that resource as readily available as some other countries, especially at our school systems. And so implementing a better school cricketing structure would mean also having to introduce that. And I'm concerned about how easily that would be, or difficult.
I guess in my head, and the reason why I've said it, and maybe this is the last thing we talk about, it's just mindful of time. In my head, I'll use the English system as a way, and obviously different financial systems, etc. I'll use Shai Hope as an example. Shai Hope, when he was, and again, if there's any Bayesians in the chat, correct me if you think I've got this wrong. Shai Hope came over to England when he was 16, if I'm not mistaken. And he did 2 years at, I want to say, Bede School, Bede. I think that's the school he went to, which is in Sussex. The 2 years that Shai would have done there, it might even mean 2.5, but the 2 years that Shai would have done there, he would have had access to some of the best facilities and structures as a youth, just in the English private school system, right? Now, in the English private school system, your coach in the English private school system is a professional, not a professional. Like what I mean is it's someone who they're usually an ex-pro for a start, and their job is literally kind of like how in American sports you have a head coach for the basketball team. But when we say head coach, as in they are paid a serious salary for that job. Being the head coach of an American football university team is sometimes paid more than an NFL side, depending on which particular university you're at, right? So I'm talking about, and in England, having that full-time role as a head coach in some of these private schools is a well-paid job, right? So what I think I'm talking about is implementing a system in the Caribbean where your best coaches are actually employed on a full-time wage in a school. Obviously, you still have to fund the facilities and all of that, but and maybe I'm thinking too simplistically, but I guess part of me is just looking at it all going, what we have right now doesn't work. So we have to do something. We have to do something different to what we're doing right now. And I just wonder if we invert it to the school system. Again, all of this stuff would take 10 to 15 years, and nobody in the Caribbean wants to wait 2 seconds, much less 10 years for anything. So I don't know. I just wonder if that's a way of and before anyone says, where's the funding? So Lackarum says this, where's the funding? I can only speak for Jamaica, right? I cannot speak for other countries because I would assume it's the same in Trinidad. I would assume it's the same across the Caribbean, right? But I can only speak for Jamaica. In Jamaica, the old schools network system is a serious system. Let's call it, for the sake of boys' schools, let's call it the old boys network, right? Some of the richest people in Jamaica who have probably moved off the island will always give money to their school, right? So you just have to tap into the old boys network. That's really what you have to do. For those, again, who are in Jamaica, we're talking about Jamaica College, Kingston College, all of those famous schools. I'm sure St. Mary's in Trinidad or whatever the famous schools are, Combermere in Barbados, wherever it is. You tap into your old alumni network, and that's where you get the funding from. I'm simplifying everything, but I'm saying let's think outside the box. Anyways, last point to you, Panda, then I'm going to wrap up the show.
How does tapping into the old boys system work for a country like Anguilla?
I don't know about them still. Yeah. I don't know about them ones.
Yeah, it works for Jamaica. Jamaica's the biggest population in the Caribbean.
Yeah, sorry. So when I was saying it, I was thinking more so with with my Jamaica hat on and Barbados and Trinidad, Guyana, who have the bigger populations. I get it doesn't work when you start to extrapolate to the smaller nations, but we have to start somewhere.
Listen, I've been talking to some of my cricket friends, and some of us have started to predict that West Indies as an institution will not live past the next decade. That this decade will be the last decade for the badge. Some of us say it's already past the point of no return in the decline and degradation of the badge. And at the 27 didn't actually do anything because the closure is already coming, already imminent. And I look at the developmental systems in at least in Trinidad, because I don't have access to any of the major countries in the region. And everything just starts clicking. Every player that Trinidad has put out within the past 15 or so years has had to go to England. Joshua De Silva was on scholarship from Pollard. Seals plays in England. Anderson Phillip plays in England. Everyone has had to leave the country before they can even enter the conversation of what being a semi-decent international player is. And some of them still aren't semi-decent international players. The chasm between just the standard club and regional teams in this country and what is in regional is massive. And then what is in regional is a massive chasm to what is in international. And the conversation just needs to shift off of shallow shoulders for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that particular point. I'm going to throw this out there. I've thought about this before and I've never said it. And I'm going to go away and think about it and come back to another episode one day and talk about it further.
And when you think about it, make sure you think about Anguilla as well.
Yeah, no, Anguilla's included in this part. If I found a way to get overseas diaspora investment, right? This is just an idea in my head. I've been thinking about this for a while. If I found a way to get overseas diaspora investment with the selling point of we're going to develop 3 to 4 to 5 West Indian cricketers, right? And then with that money, let's just say ideal world, in a utopian vision, I get that money. Now, the whole point of that money is for me to go to the Caribbean and find 5 talented cricketers, 1 batter, 1 wicket keeper, 1 spin bowler, 1 quick, maybe 2 batters, right? And I say to them, right, I have got money from the West Indian diaspora. This money is to develop you for the next year of your career. The only catch is you're coming out of the region and you're coming with me, and I'm going to get you all into wherever I'm getting you into, whatever clubs, whatever country, and you're going to just hone your skills. You're going to get everything you need to focus on being a professional. You're just not doing it in the Caribbean. We're going to come back to the Caribbean in 18 months' time, and you're going to be much better players. Now, obviously, some people listening to this are going to go, Mash, that can't work. That sounds like slavery and so on and so forth, right? But is that a better way of fast-tracking development?
It could work. I do not see it working if we're in tier 2.
Oh, tier 2, yeah. Forget tier 2 for a second. Let's just assume that tier stuff's not happening. But let's just say we carry on still being accepted as we are. How do you think the region would react to somebody coming with that plan and just saying, I'm taking 5 cricketers away from this region. I'll come back with them in 18 months' time?
Uncles will cuss. We already saw this with the diaspora episode, where people just come out with a chest and saying, we don't want diaspora players, we don't want foreign man, we don't want... If you're a Jamaican, you must represent... Only if you're Jamaican, only if you're Trinidadian. But really and truly, there has to be a point where we just stop giving uncles mics.
I agree with that. We would, yeah. Anyone over the age of 70, we need to stop giving them microphones now. When it comes
I'm
to
more extreme that everyone over the age of 35, I'm coming for you. Turning a mic tax. This includes you, Mash.
I was going to say, this show's over as of now.
Yeah. So, what do you think this was? I came here to take over the show.
Right, listen. On that note, I am gonna look off the show. But there's this point that Charlie just made. So Charlie says, what I've just described is exactly what happens in tennis. All the top talent goes over to Spain to train when they're youths to develop. And that's interesting that Charlie says this without giving out any names. So obviously in my day job, I work in schools, etc. There was a young person who was supposed to join my school next month in September. I spoke to his parents the other day. They'd got in touch with me months ago to say, oh, he's going to come join your school, but he's a super talented tennis player, Anyways, they rang me the other day and were like, listen, we're just ringing you to let you know that he's actually not coming to your school anymore. He's moving to Spain. And I said, what do you mean he's moving to Spain? And they were like, oh, we've put him in a Spanish school because it's the next thing to take his tennis to the next level. We have to move him to Spain. That's where he's going to get the elite coaching, etc., right? So it's interesting that Charlie, he didn't even know that was something that I'd just been experiencing. But this is what I often say about some stuff in West Indies cricket. We turn our noses up at stuff that other sports and other countries wouldn't think twice about doing. The whole reason Jacob Bethel went to England was to basically improve his chances of getting to the next stage of international cricket. Yes, he qualifies for his family and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, the whole point Jofra Archer went to England was ultimately to improve and get access to whatever he felt he needed to get. And so I don't get why we in the Caribbean, possibly it's our colonial hangover, but I don't get why we in the Caribbean, the first mention of anything to do with foreigner and overseas help, we immediately start turning our nose up and get vexed and want to cuss and say, nah, that's not the way forward, and so on and so forth, as if we can't see what's been happening for 30 years. So, but ho-hum. Listen, Panda, part 2 next week, if I remember that I've got to do the show. I'm sure you're giving people a lot of things to think about. I'm sure there's some people in the comments that want to cuss Panda. Please Please cuss Panda if you want to cuss. Get in the comments below and cuss.
Yeah, here's my Substack.
I was going to say, you
right
can
here.
also find her on her Substack. Let me just read it out.
I have DMs on there. So just go read through all of my articles, like them, share, subscribe. Then you have the right to cuss me out.
Substack.com /@PandaSteph. So if you want to take this offline from the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, send some stuff to Panda and say, well, you got this wrong, and actually I'm going to cuss you now. That's where you can find us. Substack.com /@PandaSteph to take the question further. But either way, whatever you felt about what Panda said, I'm sure the good thing is it ignited debate. So we'll take this through into, if I can convince her to come on next week, we'll take this through into next week. And take the conversation further. But Panda, you made this show go 20 minutes longer than I wanted to do. OJ says, where's the link? Where's the link to what, OJ? Panda Steph? Or to what link?
The link to the Discord. Go join Patreon, man.
I don't think he means Discord, you know. OJ, if it's the link to Panda's Substack, she's taken off the screen now. Or no, have I taken off the screen? There it is. Substack.com /@PandaSteph, if that's the link that you're talking about. If it's the link to the Discord, you have to become a patron. The link to the patrons on the screen, www.patreon.com /Carib Cricket. Big up TC. She looks like TC. Thank you very much, Panda Steph, for coming on the show today. And people, I'm going to take Panda off, actually. Panda, I'm going to take you off, so thank you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be on.
No worries. Take care. So I removed Panda so that I can just close off the show. Big up Panda. Big up Fireball for coming on. Big up the patrons who sent in the questions early today. Big up TC. Big up anyone. Let me see who's in there now. Big up Charlie. Big up Carvalho. Big up Errol. Big up Celine. Big up TC. Big up Rods. Big up Lackaram. Big up Osprey. Big up Denzel. I'm just looking at the last few people who are commenting. Big up Paul. Javi. Sunil, etc. Big up anybody who commented and people. That's been the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. What's coming up later this week? I don't think there's anything tomorrow. I'm going to Cheltenham. Going to any of you who are UK based. I'm going to Cheltenham tomorrow because Bromley are playing Cheltenham on Tuesday night. So I'm travelling to Cheltenham for that match. So you won't see anything from me tomorrow. Come back to London on Wednesday. You might see something Wednesday. Santoki's back. He's been on holiday as usual. So Santoki and I will record something on Thursday. And then I've got a really special episode. That I've got planned, which I will probably record on Friday, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. So look out for some more content coming up in the coming days and weeks. Like, share, and subscribe on your way out, people. Algorithm. We're on all the social media handles. You know what to do. I'll be Machel St. Patrick here on half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. See you all very, very soon.
West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast. West Indies Cricket, Caribbean Cricket Podcast.